I want you to get together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Remember series. Now, I know I'm usually doing this in the car, but that is currently a hotbox oven of death in the heat outside. So I'm doing this inside on my laptop instead. But I have one for you, which is we talked about it in the Telegram group and we agreed we'll give this one a talk because it's quite a big one from back in the day. And we're going to talk about the Illuminati card game. Now, if you don't know, if you're quite new to all the conspiracy world, and you probably may not have heard of this one, but back in the 2012 to 2010, that era, that 5 year period from like 2008 to 2015, this was a big deal. And this game, which was created by Steve Jackson Games in, I think it was 1982 or 85, this card game that was created had these depictions of all sorts of Illuminati conspiracy theory topics with a little drawing on them. And it seems like from these cards, real life events have happened which were depicted on these cards made decades ago. And people then started to pick them up and start to analyze them. And they started to use it as a way to kind of divine the future as it was coming. And the implication being, that whoever made this card game called the Illuminati card game was an insider of some kind who knew the future, the script, the plan of the evil controllers of the world. And therefore, he was basically telling us through this card game what was going to happen through a form of predictive programming, revelation of the method type thing. And just at a cursory glance looking into, who this creator of this card game is, it says here, now Steve Jackson Games is a games company founded in 1980 by Steve Jackson that creates and publishes role-playing board and card games. And up until the 2019, the gaming magazine called Pyramid. So that's quite telling in its own right. And if you look at Steve Jackson Games' logo, which I'll put up on the screen here, it is literally an all-seeing eye on a pyramid, which is the ultimate Illuminati symbol, the very same on the back of the $1 bill in America. Now it says here, the game, the Illuminati card game. This is a Wikipedia cursory search here. It's actually based on something called Illuminatus, the trilogy, which is a series of three novels by the American writers Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson, published first in 1975. It's a trilogy of satirical postmodern science fiction, and these adventures are basically loose, unconnected stories involving drugs, sex, and magic laden treks through a number of conspiracy theories, both historical and imaginary. So, Steve Jackson Games was inspired by this Illuminatus trilogy from the 70s, which basically, again, a very early form of revelation of the method, um, a satirical game, a book, they say, but was this originally them telling us the truth through, quote unquote, fiction? And Steve Jackson seems to have picked this up with the same logo, of the Illuminati pyramid, and created all these cards that show some pretty damning things. I mean, one of the cards literally shows something very similar to what happened on that fateful day in 2001, it even includes another card, images of the Pentagon on fire in a very similar fashion to what the media showed us on the same day. There's another one there that talks about basically paid agents are in place, and the agent that's in place looks just like Alex Jones, who we have theorized many times is basically a paid shill, who has even admitted that he is a member of the Illuminati in one of his shows. Someone showed me a video on Telegram where he's saying, "Yeah, yeah, but I'm the good Illuminati out there fighting the bad Illuminati." And it's implying that the truth movement is co-opted, and it basically lays out the entire conspiracy in this series of satirical cards, and the imagery on them is uncanny. One of the cards, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll bring it up on screen, literally has an image of a face on it which looks identical to how Trump looks and what he looks like when he screams in a very particular way, which has been shown in modern mainstream media. And it seems to be like this form of divination or tarot card reading, like it's telling the future through these cards. And back in the day, people were basically making videos solely based on what these cards were telling them and trying to make predictions about what was going to happen next. There was one video that showed like a clock tower collapsing and other buildings collapsing, and people were saying this is this particular country, so it's going to happen in this country where this actual clock tower exists. There's going to be an attack there of some kind, you know. And that's what people were doing. They were skimming through these. There's about 300 cards, and they're very rare now. To get them, you have to go onto eBay and other auction sites and buy them in bulk, and pay a lot of money for some of them. So even I haven't seen all of them, but just at a cursory search, I'm probably bringing, as I'm speaking now, I'm bringing them up on the screen, just loads I've found, and so you can analyze them for yourself. But it does seem to be very telling and eerily similar to kind of the world we actually live in today in the modern times. It's like he was telling us what our future was going to bring. Stuff about technology as well and the advancements on the way in artificial intelligence, all sorts of topics and things which are quite modern now and prevalent in our conspiracy circles. We're all kind of brought up in this card game from a long time ago. So I don't know, is there something to this? Is it actually an insider revealing the truth, in through some strange artistic sigil magic type method through this artwork? I don't know. I don't know. But it's interesting to say the least. I mean, one of them was even called the Frog God. And obviously we had literally the rise of Kek and Pepe the Frog, which was a basically, although it wasn't said this way, it essentially was the god of that particular ideological group at the time when it was a big thing through meme culture, and Kek is a frog god from Egyptian mythology. And, this card seems to have predicted that people would in some way idolize a frog at some point in the future. Um, Interesting that it's there. I'm just skimming through some now. There's one about Hillary Clinton. Obviously, she ran for the presidency, so it's interesting that she has her own dedicated card. A lot of these are very much of their time. We've got one here for Saddam Hussein and Bill Clinton as well, who obviously are characters that have gone into obscurity now. But there's an interesting one here about. I probably can't say that. Never mind. I'll show it on screen. But yeah, it's interesting. Go check them out if you haven't already and see if you can find anything interesting within these cards. There's definitely I see this happen a lot in the conspiracy culture. There's another thing which I'm going to make a separate video about called I Pet Goat 2. And again, a lot of people who are in our world turn to this piece of artwork which they claim has been created by some kind of person who's in the know, and they use it to predict what's going to happen in the future because of the heavy amount of symbolism within it. And this does have I Pet Goat feel to it, like a feel to it like that. But the reference I made earlier, this feels to me a lot like reading the cards to predict the future is basically tarot card use. It's the same principle. And it's a witchcraft practice at the end of the day, and it's not actually a good thing to put so much weight into such signs and symbols created by man, to consult the cards to find out what's going to happen in the future. It's a very occult practice. So maybe we should be careful and reassess what we're doing here. It could be the case of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. So this idea that what he's mapped out to be the future in these cards only comes to reality because the cards were created and people followed it. They kind of made it happen inadvertently. So it could be a case that that's how magic works. You program the people through the media, games such like this, so they will act out the program and make the script that they have mapped out happen. And basically puppets make people into puppets that act out the script that they've written. So we do have to be wary of things like this. I thought it'd be interesting to bring it to you guys and just talk about it briefly for the Remember series. But who does remember this? Who was around during the time when this was a big deal? It has kind of faded out now, but maybe there's still something within these we could find which would make our skin crawl. I mean, I'm just looking now at a few and I'm finding some really trippy things. I've just found a really psychedelic clown-looking white-skinned monster demon on one of these cards called Hail Eris. I'll save that image so I can make sure to show you guys in post. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the random reel of images on the screen. You can pause it at your own behest and decode them to your own free will. But I'll leave that there, guys. Thanks for listening. I am currently working on a much longer video about a song by the Gorillas, which is can be a lot more detailed than this, and should be an interesting one for you guys. So you've got that to look forward to. So thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
I want you to get together.